Hey everyone, I'm here today to talk about a heart-wrenching issue that's been haunting families across Australia for decades. As a parent myself, I can't even begin to imagine the pain and anguish of losing a child to violent crime. But for some families, the agony doesn't end with the loss. It lingers, fueled by a justice system that, in its efforts to protect, sometimes seems to forget the victims. Take the case of Tanya Burgess, a vibrant 15-year-old whose life was brutally cut short in 2005. She was stabbed 48 times on her way home from school. The perpetrator, a 16-year-old classmate. He was convicted and sent to jail, but even now, years later, his identity remains a guarded secret, known only as DL. His actions irrevocably shattered a family, yet his anonymity is preserved because he was a juvenile at the time of the crime. And then, there's the heartbreaking story of 3-year-old Cheryl Grimmer, who disappeared from a beach back in 1970. Decades later, her alleged killer was finally apprehended, but because he was just 15 at the time of the crime, his name still can't be disclosed. I've spoken with the families affected by these tragedies. People like Carrie and David Balding, whose lives were turned upside down in the 80s when their daughter Janine was abducted, raped, and murdered by a group of juvenile delinquents. The culprits' identities were protected, their faces never shown, leaving the Baldings in a perpetual state of unresolved grief. These stories highlight a profound issue in our legal framework. While it's essential to rehabilitate young offenders, where do we draw the line? Especially when the crimes are as severe as murder or rape. The families of the victims argue, and rightfully so, that once these juveniles turn 18, they should be held fully accountable for their actions, their anonymity lifted. This isn't about vengeance, it's about responsibility and closure. New South Wales is currently considering changes to these laws, and it's a move that's being watched closely by other states, and most importantly, by the families who've been left in the shadows, waiting for justice. As we continue this conversation, let's remember the balance necessary between protecting the future of young offenders and providing justice and closure to the families torn apart by their actions. These aren't just legal battles. They're human stories, stories of loss, pain, but hopefully, eventually, stories of justice. Thanks for listening. Let's keep pushing for a justice system that remembers all its citizens, the offenders and the victims alike. Stay tuned and take care.